What's going on, everyone? So we are inching closer and closer to this NBA draft, second round of the NBA draft, where the Lakers have a pick, right? Earlier today, saw the Lakers trade up 10 spots with the Chicago Bulls and landing the 45th pick, where the Lakers supposedly have some targets. We'll touch on that here in a moment. And then traded out the 55th pick along with 2.5 million in cash, right? It's very important because the Lakers have, all teams, but Lakers have 7 million in cash that they could spend on picks, assets, right? And giving out 2.5 million, they still have 4.5 million that they can now use to go make another trade, go make another move, maybe buy another pick. So Lakers could still go end up, getting the 40th pick too if they wanted to. Try to get a guy or two to kind of round out the roster. It just depends on what the going rate is. And if you can find somebody that would take it, that is like, hey, I just want the cash, you can have the pick. There's several teams that have multiple firsts in this upcoming draft and some teams that really just don't have the roster spots and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Another big thing, though, about this situation, Lakers going and giving up cash for a pick, Lakers are now hard capped at the second apron. Right? So now Lakers cannot exceed the second apron. Now, I don't think that changes anything. I don't think the Lakers are going to exceed the hard cap anyway, the second apron anyway. So I don't think this is something that affects them. If they were like hard capped at the first apron, we might have some trouble. Although it might signal LeBron taking a discount. But I don't think the Lakers are going to get into the second apron anyway. So I'm not worried in that regard. I believe the Lakers will stay under that. So at that point, you might as well just go get another pick if you can, right? Use that cash to do that. Now, you could use that cash for other purposes, right? Trades, things like that. But if you can go get a draft pick, because you're going to need cheap assets to round out your roster, right? Unless LeBron James does take a discount, which, he doesn't have to. There's no guarantee that he would. But unless he takes a discount, you're going to need, at least at the end of the bench guys, you're going to need in the bench guys that are really cheap. Second round picks is a way to do that. Plus gives you some youth, some, athleticism, gives you some guys that, can kind of play a role over the course of an 82-game season, but also give you guys to develop and grow and build on this team and on this roster. But the Lakers, per reports, the Lakers reportedly moved up with the hope of drafting Creighton-centered Ryan Kalkbrenner. He's a guy that I myself would love to have. I think he would be fantastic. Many of you I've seen in the comments really want to see the Lakers land Kalkbrenner. I don't know if he'll be there at 45. I'd be a little surprised if he's there at 45. There's a couple options, and there are like a handful of centers that are still available. Again, maybe the Lakers go and buy, if the Lakers buy a pick, they'll probably wait and see, right? So like, for example, I think you'll see like, okay, we're at pick 35 and, Ryan's still there. And so it's like, okay, let's go buy the 36th pick, right? And then I could see maybe something like that happening. So look as this draft progresses, especially early on, look for the Lakers to maybe make a move in order to land a pick. I'm not saying that they will. Again, I'm not an insider. I'm just a fan, just a guy, right? But don't be shocked with the Lakers still having 4.5 million to spend that they go and get that, especially if they really do want a guy like Ryan Kalkbrenner, right? Like chances are you're going to have to trade up. Now, the other thing is one, are those reports accurate, right? Or did the Lakers just put that out there? Because Lakers especially now that there have been reports that the Lakers they want to sew up certain things and not having, as it was put, detrimental information be leaked out there that interferes with stuff, because that would be something that would be potentially detrimental, right? Because you don't think that there's a team that's like, Lakers have done a fantastic job drafting guys in the second round, and that's the guy that they want. Maybe we should go and draft him, right? Not to mention the teams that are just like, hey, it's the Lakers, so let's just mess with them. Maybe we can even trade him to the Lakers and get something out of it, right? And end up drafting him just to, spite the Lakers. So there is the question of is this something that is actually, that the Lakers are active in trying to acquire, or is this something that is just, all smokescreen? We'll see. Time will tell. Also, should the Lakers even draft a center? Or should they go the wing route, assuming that they only have one pick, right? if they end up getting another pick, then yeah, then draft. If you can get a Kalkbrenner and then go get a Sion James, I really like the idea of Sion James. There's a couple guys like Watkins, RJ Lewis, right? Like, there's several guys I would love to have, but I really like the idea of Sion James, and he's kind of projected where we're picking. Right? He's in that like 40 to 55 range, but most mock drafts have him kind of in that 40, 45 range. He's a bigger Lou Dort, right? Like, and look at how good every team in the league would love to have Lou Dort, right? Despite all of the over aggressiveness, right? The dirtiness at times, it feels like. But he's one of those guys, like when he's on your team, everything's clean, right? When he's on your team, come on, that's just a good playoff foul. Good job, Lou, right? But like when you're playing against him, you're like, dude, the guy's trying to murder my player, right? Like, so, but Sion James, hopefully cleaner, but he's just bigger. He's 6'6", big, strong, physical, actually really good as a swing man, right? Kind of 3-and-D guard. Guy that I think could have an impact immediately. Like literally, I think you could play him in your rotation as soon as this season, right? Where some of these other guys, there are questions of like, are these long-term guys, especially when you're drafting guys that are in the 20s or whatever, right? But again, Lakers have done a really good job of landing guys in the second round and undrafted. My other kind of argument, though, too, as to, again, if you can get, it'd be kind of hard to, if you can get a Kalkbrenner or something like that, be kind of hard to say no to drafting a guy like that. There's several guys, right? You got, Rasheer Fleming, Adu Thiero, I'd stay away from Johnny Broom. Again, there's a handful of guys that I think would make a lot of sense for the Lakers, that maybe they could end up picking up and drafting. But I think as far as like the center position goes, unless the Lakers believe like this is our clear-cut guy, I think that there will be guys there at the end, right? And I also think you might be able, as the Lakers, to convince a couple players, right? Like you got a couple guys that like may end up being towards the end of the draft, where like Rocco, for example, he's a guy that's projected to go in kind of like the 45 all the way to the 55 range. There were mock drafts of the Lakers drafting him, right? And I'd love to have Rocco. I've seen a lot of people, also it's another name that I've seen people be like, hey, go get him at 45, right? But he's a guy, could you talk to the agent or get the word to the agent, right? Because tampering never happened. Come on, stop. But in all seriousness, right? Like, could you maybe kind of get word out to Rocco's agent of like, hey, if you go undrafted, we're going to sign you. And maybe he'd be willing to do that because he's like, man, I get to go to the Lakers, right? Might actually be able to play on the team, right? Like, and actually immediately, because Lakers have a lack of center. And even at worst, if I'm the third center for a year, I'd still probably get like spot minutes here and there, actually get to play a role. Right? Just things like that. I think that's very likely. And yes, you could make the same argument about some of these like two-way wings and stuff. And look, maybe the Lakers find a guy or two, but I think that there are better, unless you can get, there's like 2 or 3 centers that I think right now that it's like, if you can get those guys, you get them, right? Other than that, I think there's like 5 or 6 wings that if you can get them, you get them, right? But again, like I said, maybe second round in particular, like the first round kind of went the way you expected. First round kind of went as planned. A couple surprises like Portland taking Yang at 16. That was a little surprising. But, outside of that, everything kind of went according to plan. Second round, I don't think there will be a blueprint. There never is with the second round in particular, right? Because second round is where teams do start explore. Like, hey, let's just take a flyer on this guy. We already got everything we need. Let's just get this guy. Or you get some teams that'll draft best player available or their interpretation of who the best player available is. And teams get a little more risky in the second round, take a little more chances, and you've seen guys drop in the second round in particular. Guys that were supposed to projected as 30th picks end up going undrafted because, teams are just like, hey, we really like this guy. We really like this guy. What's wrong with him? It's like, he's 23, right? Like, and, teams want to kind of take the flyer, especially in the second round, on a guy. That's why the Lakers have had success because they like the older guys in the second round. Lakers like to draft those guys that are, 22, 23, and bring them in because they're a little more seasoned, right? A little more, they have a better feel for the game, easier to kind of adapt to the NBA level, right? So, if you can, Lakers have had success with that, and a lot of that is, again, because they're open and willing to take that 23-year-old, where a lot of teams are like, if we're drafting in the second round, let's take the 18-year-old and see if maybe he becomes something, right? Like, he's raw, incredibly raw, a little rough, a lot of questions about it, but he's 18 years old, so we could spend the next 4 years developing him, and he'd be the same age as this guy. Can we, as an NBA organization, get him to at least as good as this guy, if not better, in 4 years, right? And willing to take the risk. So we'll see, but supposedly, that's what the Lakers are looking to do, that they're looking to draft Kalkbrenner. And again, Lakers are hard capped at the second apron now, and have $4.5 million to spend. But let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.